We've talked about bad roller coasters and bad dark rides on this channel, but what about bad water slides? Whether it's a fun slide with a design flaw, a painful slide, or a slide that's just a bad idea, you'll see several examples in this video. So as voted on by the viewers, here are the top 10 worst water slides ever built. Number 10. Galactica at Germany's Crystal Palm Beach. Though no longer in operation, this German water slide has received a lot of attention for its bizarre liminal appearance and cringeworthy design. First of all, this slide looks like it was slapped together haphazardly, with what look like metal rivets sticking out of the walls. Second, while most slides are circular, this one has an oblong shape, allowing passengers to sit upright. This makes the slide look like a liminal space, which is admittedly pretty cool. But the fatal flaw with this slide was the design of its course. On the turns, one side of the slide is curved, but the other is flat. This means passengers would bump right into it, bonking against the walls like some kind of semi-submerged pinball machine. In the words of YouTube user Airtime Thrills, you just get yonked all over the place. So much yonking, in fact, that you'd be declared the supreme emperor of yonk by the end of it. Unfortunately, or fortunately depending on how you look at it, that title is no longer attainable by the public. Because in 2021, this slide was hacked into pieces and removed. Since then, another duo slide named Space Race has replaced it, and by all indications, it's a much better ride. Still though, the surreal nature of the original will never be forgotten. Number 9. Unnamed water slide at India's Splash Water World. Temperatures in India can get pretty damn high, so it's no surprise there are plenty of water parks in the country. And with the world's largest population, it can be pretty challenging to keep track of all the water slides there. Well, for this slide, we're heading to a small water park in the city of Rohtek. This park, known as Splash Water World, is home to a number of slides. However, only one of them was notable enough to make this list. Specifically, we're talking about this spiral blue slide. Though it may not seem like anything memorable at first, pretty much every video of it reveals a glaring flaw. In multiple POVs, the person riding the slide gets stuck and actually has to scoot down it. In one video, riders can actually be seen walking down the slide as if they got bored of trying to scoot down. I highly doubt this is what the designers intended. It's clear that whoever built this slide was highly inexperienced. Perhaps they would have done better if they replaced the water with oil, but with a local average high of 112 degrees in May and June, this would have ended up deep frying people in the process. So for now, riders are going to have to settle with this awkward slide. Number 8. Flying Mayan at Wisconsin's Chula Vista. Don't get me wrong, this looks like a fun water park. Part of the Wisconsin Dells, Chula Vista is one of the many water parks in the southern Wisconsin city. But out of all the water slides there, this one takes the cake for being questionable and arguably flawed in its design. Previously, we discussed the now-defunct Zip Coaster at Sandusky, Ohio's Kalahari Resort. This water coaster used an unconventional conveyor belt launch system to accelerate the trains. Though conveyor belts can be found on water coasters, this slide featured a straight belt, making it more of a launch than a lift. Though it reportedly closed due to high maintenance demands, another conveyor belt launch coaster named Flying Mayan still operates at Chula Vista. In addition to its conveyor belt launch, this water coaster features what appear to be custom-built rafts. Apparently, duct tape and PVC are attached to the raft in order to give passengers something to hold on to. It looks like it was slapped together in Uncle Fred's tool shed. But beyond its odd appearance, many argue that the slide itself has other flaws. Despite praising the launch, YouTube channel In The Loop criticized the ride as having, quote, no speed to speak of. In addition, many have criticized the conveyor belts as loud and distracting, with the noise being amplified by the indoor setting. Though many do consider it to be a fun water slide, it certainly does have its flaws in terms of design and appearance. Still though, for curiosity's sake, I'd love to check this out for its uniqueness alone. Number 7. SuperSplash at Italy's Caneva Aqua Park. If you've ever attempted a belly flop, you'd know how painful hitting the water is. Contrary to popular belief, hitting the water isn't like landing on a giant pillow. In fact, hitting the water at certain angles can be a lot like hitting solid ground in terms of feeling and overall danger. Now imagine a water slide where you fly off a ramp and hit a pool, one where you pretty much have to land on your stomach. Much like a typical mat racer, passengers ride on their stomachs in a face-down position. But while mat racers typically end in a shallow runoff, these ones end in a deep pool. Not only that, but the end of each slide is a ramp that allows riders to launch into the air, ending in a gloriously painful belly flop. Numerous writers have called these slides extremely painful, and though it is pretty cool to watch people fly off of them, it's definitely a slide you'd rather watch than ride. Number 6. Crazy River at Hungary's Anagora Water Park. Like other slides on this list, you may look at this one and question what's so weird or flawed about it. Well, as it turns out, this slide has a major design error, and a hilarious one at that. As documented by YouTube user Amusement Force, this slide features a tight turn that's more likely than not going to flip you over as you maneuver it. Sure, every now and then you'll see someone make it through, but a lot of times you'll see people wiping out on it, over and over and over again. Apparently, this slide was made by a Hungarian manufacturer named Amnon Water Slide System. This company is actually well respected in the country, and they've designed other water slides there. This slide, named Turbo Slide, is apparently considered to be one of the most extreme water slides in Europe. Maybe I'll do a video about the most intense water slides in the world this summer too, so feel free to comment suggestions down below. Number 5. The Queen Suite Slide at Japan's Hotel Regent Odaka. Love hotels are a famous part of Japanese culture. These high-end adult-only hotels can be found across the country. But for this segment of the list, we're heading to the Hotel Regent Odaka in the city of Nagoya. Known for its luxurious amenities, this hotel has everything from Wagyu beef sushi to karaoke to an archery range. Its rooms are no different, with elegant furnishings, fancy slippers, and a fancy toilet. But if you're looking for a real kicker, you should get the Queen Suite with spa bathroom. Here, guests are treated to their own private water slide. This sounds like a dream come true, but instead, it's more like an AI-generated nightmare. This slide may look cute and harmless with its translucent pink material and surrounding flower beds, but don't be fooled. It's like the designers found out they were building a slide for a love hotel and just assumed all the guests liked it rough. This slide is way faster than it looks, and it features sudden, sharp turns that could have you questioning your life choices mid-slide. Just ask the woman who recorded this video. She ended up getting tossed around like a rag doll and claimed to receive bruises on her knees from it. And check out this clip.
Oh my god, are you okay?
This poor woman got tossed around so badly that I seriously have no idea how she wasn't injured. And just think, if she didn't slam into the side of the slide and slow down a bit, she may have ended up flying into the wall of the pool. Seriously, the last thing anyone should say to someone after they get off a water slide is, "Oh my god, are you okay?" It's clear the designers were going for more of an aesthetic design than a practical one, because it does look cool, but it certainly doesn't ride nice. Number 4. Twin Peaks, also at Caneva Aqua Park. Now this slide, I have no idea how it's still operating. As if the belly flop slides weren't enough, Caneva Aqua Park has this shocking water slide. It seems simple, board an inner tube and go downhill, except here they included an airtime hill. Yes, an airtime hill on a water slide. And I'm not talking about light airtime either. In several videos online, you can see people getting totally yeeted into the air, only to come crashing down. These two men apparently walked away and told the lifeguard that they were fine. I have no idea how they weren't injured. Now, a few people have commented on the video, saying the two men were over the weight limit. But if you look at the park's website, you can actually see people being launched into the air on the raft. This implies the slide was intentionally designed to send people flying. What the absolute hell, guys? Number 3. Flyover at the Netherlands Tiki Bad Daniel. This is by far the most disturbing water slide concept I've ever seen. Located at Tiki Bad Water Park, this slide was designed by Dutch manufacturer Rohtek. This company mainly specializes in swimming pools and water technical installations. But at one point, they designed a strange and terrifying slide. What was so terrifying about it? How about the fact that it was completely filled with water? Yes, no air and only water, sucking you through it. It sounds like a nightmare, but it actually existed. Opening in 1994, this slide, known as Flyover, was the world's only underwater water slide. Riders would dive underwater into the entrance and get sucked through the slide, ending up in another pool. But this slide wasn't meant for just anyone. To even get on it, you had to prove you could hold your breath for at least 30 seconds in a separate pool monitored by lifeguards. Apparently, no one under 14 could ride either. The way this slide worked was by using the communicating vessels principle. This dictates that water can be transferred between containers through a tube thanks to the siphon effect, as it seeks an even water level. So because the second pool's water level was lower than the first, guests would naturally be sucked through the slide. Still though, the suction wasn't that powerful, and guests still had to put some effort to swim through it. Because of its design, several lifeguards had to be on watch at all times. On the bright side, the slide had a safety feature where it could be drained in about 5 seconds if someone got stuck. Indeed, Rohtek did their best to make this concept as safe as possible, and to their credit, there were no serious injuries or deaths despite local tall tales. But even still, this slide was just an inherently flawed concept. As it turned out, it became far too expensive for the park to operate. The main problem was the constant triggering of the drainage system. In many occasions, troublemaking guests would sit down in the middle of the slide, forcing the staff to drain it. And who would do that? Stupid people. This constant draining and utilization of the pump system cost the park much more money than they planned. Plus, most riders were terrified of the very idea of it, so it didn't get a good ridership. So aside from daredevils and strong swimmers, the general public wasn't too keen on the whole being sucked through a tube of water thing. Eventually, the slide closed down in 2007 and was later dismantled in 2010. You gotta give it credit for lasting over a decade, but it's unlikely we'll ever see a slide like this again. And maybe that's for the best. Number 2, the Sky Caliber in Chamois, Missouri. This may be the clunkiest water slide ever attempted. Designed by Canadian company Sky Turtle Technologies and manufactured by American manufacturer Avalanche Water Slides, this slide features something you never expect, a full-on vertical loop. Yes, you heard that right, going upside down on a water slide. But how did they make this seemingly impossible design safe? As it turned out, Sky Turtle Technologies came up with a rather strange solution. Instead of just sending riders through the loop on their own, they designed a giant capsule that passengers have to strap into. This aluminum-structured contraption seats one rider at a time and features a safety restraint and a screen to allow for water and airflow. It looks like some kind of high-tech casket. So far, only a prototype of this slide has been built, and it seems the clunky design has turned off potential buyers. One was planned for New Jersey's famous Action Park, but the project was quietly cancelled. No official explanation was given, but it's pretty clear why. The idea of riding a water slide in a big clunky box isn't exactly appealing to most people. The whole fun of water slides is the ability to just get on and zoom down, not strap into a box. Now the prototype does still exist, and it's sitting at Avalanche's testing grounds in Missouri, so they're clearly still trying to sell this concept, but whether or not we'll ever see one remains a mystery. Number 1, Cannonball Loop at New Jersey's Action Park. You all saw this one coming, folks, and believe it or not, this is actually the second time this slide has hit number 1 on one of my lists. Anyway, you've probably already heard of Action Park, but here's a brief rundown. This New Jersey amusement park was known for its dangerous attractions that often lacked safety features. It was also known for being the site of many guest injuries. In 1983, the park built a water slide with a vertical loop just like the Sky Caliber, but unlike that slide, there were no restraints or capsules. Nope, just you and your swimsuit. This slide was a complete and total mistake. Dummies were used to test it, but many of them came out with missing limbs and missing heads. Also, employees were offered $100 bills to test it themselves. These employees included the park founder's son, who rode the slide with his hockey gear on. He would later describe it as not fun. And though the ride did eventually open 2 years after its construction, it was an extremely brief run. Cannonball Loop only operated for a single month in 1985 before being shut down by the state's advisory board on carnival amusement ride safety. Yes, this slide was actually banned by New Jersey. And for good reason. Riders experienced bloody noses, back injuries, and lacerations. And in an especially gruesome discovery, human teeth were found stuck in the slide's walls. I think we can all agree that the Tooth Fairy went way too far when she designed this slide. What a sociopath. Also, riders reportedly experienced up to 9 Gs of acceleration, which is absolutely psychotic. And as if all of that weren't bad enough, some riders even got stuck at the top of the loop due to insufficient water pressure. Efforts were made to prevent this, such as weighing guests and hosing them down, but nothing seemed to improve safety. The slide's injuries were simply undeniable, and one person was even reportedly knocked unconscious. Eventually, it did briefly reopen in the mid-90s, but it was permanently shut down afterwards. I've said it before and I'll say it again, perhaps water slides just weren't meant to have loops. Now it's time for the comment shoutout program. This is where I take 5 random comments from my previous video and read them out. These comments come from my video on roller coasters in crazy places. Megan Brown 8912 says, I have ridden the Frankenstein roller coaster recently. It was a little rough, but a fun experience. I love your videos and you have taught me more about roller coasters than anyone else from my 12-year-old son. Thank you very much for the compliment. Daisy Plyler says, let's end on a good note for number 1. Proceeds to still mention a defunct coaster, lol. Pandora Panic says, the concept of a roller coaster in a church is so awesome. If ever recreated, the Goths would absolutely eat that up. Andrew Gregway 5404 says, oh hey, I've been on the Franken coaster. It's a bit wobbly, but I love it since it fits the whole theme of being scary. It was a ton of fun since I went on it with my mom. And Finley MZT6EL says, knowing me, I'd make myself so sick riding that Burger King ride. I love Burger King and would probably make the stupid move of eating beforehand, lol. If you want to see your words in my next video, leave a comment down below and it may be selected. Please note though that inflammatory or spam comments will not be read. Thank you all so much, and if you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so once again at the link in the description. Thanks for watching everyone. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media on Instagram and Facebook, or you can check out my website at themeparkcrazy.com. And I'm on TikTok. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.